Today I've got my last update video for my October horror marathon, and I'll be going over the horror movies I watched in the final days of the month. So let's rock this. Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz, and I've got a much shorter video for you guys today. I'm doing my final wrap-up video for my 31 Days of Horror Challenge, where my goal has been to watch at least 31 horror movies in 31 days. And I actually reached that goal during my last update video a few days ago. In my last video, I covered all the horror films I watched up through October 25th. So today I'm just covering the final days of the month. I don't even have that many films here to talk about today. I think it's just like 7 films here. So it's going to be a shorter video today. But I also want to wish you all a happy Halloween. I hope you've had a great spooky season and hope you've had a chance to enjoy some fun horror flicks this month. All right, so let's just get right into this. Starting off with October 26th, I was able to watch 2 movies that day. The first one was Halloween, the classic John Carpenter film. Of course, this is one of my horror staples that I usually return to most every year. And then I also watched on the same day Halloween 2. Halloween 2. And really, it was my son and I, he was in the mood to watch these, and that's why I busted these out. My son's like 14, and he saw the original Halloween 2 or 3 years ago. You know, he didn't think much of it at the time, or I should say he liked it, but he didn't think it was all that scary. And he was in the mood to rewatch the original Halloween. And he was curious about other entries in the franchise as well. Prior to the other night, my son had seen the first Halloween movie and the David Gordon Green movies, but he had never seen Halloween 2 or any of the other franchise entries. And he expressed an interest in checking out some of these other Halloween films that he hadn't seen yet. So we popped in John Carpenter's Halloween, had a lot of fun with that, and then went straight into Halloween 2. He was digging it. He wanted to keep going after the first one, so we caught a double feature that night, and we had a lot of fun sitting together watching a Halloween double feature. So on October 26th, watched Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. Had a lot of fun with it. Next up for October 27th, I only had time to watch 1 movie that day, and that was another horror staple that I talked about in my most rewatchable horror staples video at the beginning of the month. I rewatched The Blob, and I knew I had to get to this sometime this month. I just love this movie, such a fun film, and I've talked about it quite a bit on the channel before, so I'm not going to say too much here, but that's what I watched on October 27th, and had fun revisiting it, as I expected I would. It's just this is like the quintessential B drive-in movie. Just great stuff. So, yep, really enjoyed The Blob on October 27th. Okay, and moving on to October 28th, I decided I was in the mood to revisit the movie Madman. The Vinegar Syndrome 4K here. And, you know, the funny thing about this movie is when I first watched it, I think I got it last year around this time. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was last year around this time that I ended up buying this from Vinegar Syndrome. And I watched it once, and, you know, I got it because I felt like it was kind of a horror classic. A lot of horror fans seem to hold this one in fairly high regard. And so I thought I'd give it a try. And, you know, I wasn't that impressed with it at the time. When I first watched it, I was like, you know, it's okay. But it didn't really do that much for me. And so I wanted to pop it in again this time just to see if there was a chance that maybe I liked it more this time around. And I did. I actually did. I actually enjoyed the movie more this time than I did the first time I watched it. I had fun with it, and I'm really glad I did. Now, the cool thing about this Vinegar Syndrome release is it also includes a feature-length making-of documentary in the special features. I love that. You also have reversible cover art there for those who don't have this release, but you got a ton of special features there, including a feature-length making-of documentary that I've been meaning to see. I wanted to watch this documentary, and so I wanted to rewatch the film again to see if I had warmed up to it a little bit more, and I did. I had a lot of fun with this. It's a basic slasher. You know, I'll admit it's nothing too amazing, but on a personal level, I did find that I enjoyed this movie more the second time watching it than I did when I first got it. So yeah, on October 28th, I watched Madman. On October 29th, I had time to watch 2 movies that night, and that night I was in the mood for a little Italian horror. So I went with Torso, directed by Sergio Martino. It's a fun little, I guess you could call this a slasher, I think, or it's like the precursor to the slasher subgenre. It's a giallo, and I do love giallo movies. And some people have even made the case that this is a particularly brutal giallo. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but it's definitely got some intense stuff in it. It's a pretty sleazy film overall. If you're a fan of Italian sleaze, lots of nudity and fun kills, then this might be right up your alley. I had a lot of fun with this one. It was only the second time I had ever watched this film. I'd seen it once when I first got it. I got it as part of this this Giallo box set, the yellow Giallo box set from Arrow Video. And in fact, Torso was the main reason I bought that set, because I was collecting other Sergio Martino Giallo films, and I needed to get my hands on Torso, and it was included in this set, so I went with it. But and now I hear this is actually, it's either just got a 4K or it's coming to 4K. I remember reading something about this getting a 4K release, and I'm not sure if it's already been released on 4K or if it's coming soon, but keep an eye out for that if you're interested in this film. I'm not going to be upgrading it to 4K. I'm pretty happy with my Blu-ray, and this isn't one that I feel the need to upgrade to 4K. But yeah, I had fun revisiting this one. I watched it once when I first got the Giallo box set, and I didn't even totally remember everything about it. I must have fallen asleep like partway through it or something, because I didn't remember the entire film. I only remembered the first part of it. But so I guess it wasn't like a first time watch for me, but in some ways, it kind of felt like it, just because I didn't fully remember everything about the film. But I did have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, if you like Italian horror, this is one I would definitely recommend if you haven't seen it. So Torso. And then also on the same day, I got the brand new Arrow Video 4K of Trick or Treat, just released this week, and had a lot of fun watching this one. Yeah, it's a great looking 4K. I was pretty happy with the 4K. Now, I was hoping this was going to actually be a chunky box. I thought maybe it would be, because it's listed as a limited edition, right? But sometimes Arrow Video makes their limited editions. Sometimes it's just a slipcover. It's not a chunky box for all of their limited editions. And so this is pretty straightforward stuff. It's a nice looking slipcover. I like Arrow's slipcovers. Their slipcovers usually look pretty cool. I was kind of hoping it would be a chunky box, but that's not what it was. But you do get reversible cover art, so you get the original cover art right there on the inside. And yeah, just a great horror anthology, a lot of fun. And I think it's one of the better horror anthologies out there. Of course, next to Creepshow, of course, that's like the big one, right? But I think this is a pretty decent horror anthology. And I had fun with it when I first watched it. And I definitely had fun with it. I'd say even more so returning to it on 4K. And it's a great looking 4K restoration. And you got a ton of bonus features in here too. Lots of bonus features here. So yeah, on the other movie I watched on October 29th was Trick or Treat. And then last night, October 30th, I was in the mood for something really ridiculous and over the top, and something that almost seemed a little cartoonish on the horror front, right? And so I figured, what better way to accomplish that objective than to watch a Final Destination movie? And it just so happens I have all the Final Destination movies, but I hadn't seen Final Destination 5 yet. I've owned it for I think a couple years now, but I just didn't get around to watching it. So this was actually a first time watch for me. And, I had fun with it for what it is. These movies aren't that great. The gore is, a lot of CGI gore that does look kind of cartoonish. So the realism isn't really there, right? It's pretty cheesy and cartoonish, but I do find these movies to be quite entertaining. I always get a kick out of seeing the different ways that people get killed in these movies and how creative they are with the kills. I think that's the main reason anybody watches these movies, is they want to see the kills, right? They want to see creative kills and find new and interesting ways to kill off characters, right? So I had fun with it. It's nothing to write home about. Not that great of a movie, right? To be honest, but it served what I was in the mood for last night. I wanted something ridiculous, I wanted something over the top, and I wanted something that involved a lot of destruction, and this fit the bill, definitely. So yeah, Final Destination 5 is what I watched last night. Okay, so that about wraps up what I watched up through last night. Of course, I still have today, Halloween, to watch at least 1 or 2 more films. I don't think I'm going to get through more than 2, and I may only get to 1 film tonight. But not including tonight, if we look at the month so far, it turns out I'd watched 38 horror films this month. My goal was to get at least 31 in 31 days, so I accomplished that goal with my last update video. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get too many more in the final days of the month, but I did get another 7 movies in up until today. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to watch tonight. I'm probably going to go to one of the films that I usually like to watch and return to on Halloween, and that is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. This is a perfect film to watch while people are out trick-or-treating and coming to the door asking for candy, right? So yeah, I love this one. I've watched it on Halloween for the last 2-3 years, and I do intend to watch this one again tonight. And if I have time, I'm hoping I can get my son into this one. I'm in the mood to rewatch Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead. I love this remake. I think it's one of the best horror remakes out there. An excellent remake, in fact. And I say that as someone who's a big fan of the original Dawn of the Dead, right? The original Romero movies. But I thought Zack Snyder did a great job with this, and so I'm hoping I can talk my son into watching this with me tonight. So if I manage to get both Dawn of the Dead and Halloween 3 watched tonight, then that'll give me a cool 40 movies total for the month of October. 40 horror movies watched during October, and that's a pretty good amount, I think. I was actually hoping to watch a few more than that. I didn't get to quite as many as I was hoping to this month. And another thing that surprised me, I didn't get to quite as many staples of my favorite horror staples as I thought I would. This was kind of a different month for me. I feel like my selection of horror movies was a little bit more eclectic, a little bit more unusual. Like, you notice you didn't see a whole lot of like big franchise titles in my watch list this month, right? There was no Exorcist, there was no Texas Chainsaw Massacre, none of the Friday the 13th movies. I mean, I had a few big franchise titles, a couple Halloween movies and a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And I was able to get to a few of my favorites, my horror staples, like The Fog, for example, and The Blob. But there were a lot of new movies I watched too that I had never seen before, and I ended up watching more new to me horror movies than I expected to this month. And I don't know, it was just kind of a weird selection of movies. It wasn't like the standard type of horror movies that you would expect a horror fan to watch in the month of October. It was kind of all over the place with my selections. About half of the movies I watched this month were new movies that I had never seen before, and that's usually where I want to be. I try to make it so that about half of the movies are movies that I'd never seen before, but even with that, I still feel like I didn't quite get to as many of my personal favorite horror staples as I wanted to this month. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. Last year, I watched 60 movies over the course of the month. So maybe if I had managed to do that this year, I would have gotten a lot more of my staples in. And maybe that's why it just feels like I didn't get as many in this year, because relative to last year, I didn't get as many movies watched this year. It's 20 movies less than I watched last year. So yeah, that's just the way it worked out. But I had a lot of fun doing this challenge. I always enjoy doing these challenges. So yeah, I just had a blast with it. So that's where I'm at for my 31 Days of Horror Challenge 2024. So that about wraps it up for my final horror update this month. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of my choices, and let me know what movies you guys have been watching as well, if you've also been doing a similar challenge. I always enjoy talking to you guys and hearing from you, so make sure you leave me some feedback down below. And for those of you who are not big horror fans, well, you'll be happy to know that the channel reverts back to normal after this video. I know during the month of October, I tend to do dedicated R-rated horror content, and that always screws things up a little bit, especially for those who are not necessarily the biggest horror fans, but do like the content I do on this channel, in spite of not being the biggest horror fan. So you'll be happy to know after today, I'll take a little break from horror and we'll get back to normal here with the channel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really appreciate it. Happy Halloween, and I'll see you soon.